Was it revolutionary from the perspective of it being a Chinese product, or from your perception of, oh wow, electrics can do this?
No, it had nothing to do with Chinese or whatever. It was just to do with the fact that this is an electric vehicle that isn't vaporware, so to speak.
Correct.
Right? It was a car that worked like a normal car.
Nice.
And if there was any Chinese angle to it, it would have been that, yeah, you could have expected a Chinese, I mean, by way of the cliche, to be flimsy. This felt solid. The suspension, like, those kind of things,
Correct.
was well engineered. Whatever it had felt good.
So it was an impressive car.
It was an impressive car.
Even before you factored in the name, the badge, etc., you would have been impressed by this car. Then it's a matter of what your philosophical and personal connotations of seeing BYD, recognizing that they're a Chinese brand, etc., etc. Before that, impressive car, E6.
Yeah. And it wasn't a fancy car. Even back then, if you look at the design of the E6.
Did they sell it to private customers, or was it like a taxi?
So they started off as only for fleet operators, and then they graduated to selling it to private owners.
Got it.
So in fact, amongst our friend circle, I have a family where they have got 2 of them, and they travel out to the village where their family hails from, which is not close by, and they bought one, and then they followed up with another one because it's a long distance. And they found that the range just worked for them. And once they got there, you typically be spending a night there, so they'd charge it up at home. No issue. So they went from 1 to 2. So it's a car that has been performing, and even fleet operators have got the E6s.
That's how I see them, because in the area around the office, if you're riding around, which I am, you'll see there are a couple of eMAX. Not eMAXs, there are a couple of E6s that you can see, always with yellow plates, which you asked, was it sold as a taxi first?
Correct. It first started off as a taxi, and I think that was a good thing because their reach wasn't much, and confidence for, I think, private owners wouldn't have been that high. But once all this happened and this was validated that it's a solid product, people moved in and bought that. So now, with it starting off, the E6 starting off as a fleet operator vehicle, and it wasn't that fancy, that was okay. What the eMAX 7 is doing today is changing that angle of it. It's become a premium looking and premium experience on the inside compared to the E6.
Okay.
So my first impression when I got to the hotel where we were going to drive out of, the car was parked outside, and my first thought straight away was, wow, that looks much cooler. That looks premium. And so the face has changed, the design. There used to be a biggish grille sort of over there. Now it has a sportier, cooler look, the headlamps. There's a look that's you could call it a family look, like with the Atto 3 of that bar running between the, what would be the grille, but from headlamp to headlamp, that. So all those elements are there. From the side, of course, it still looks like a van. And compared to the E6, this is longer. Okay. The wheelbase hasn't increased, but it is slightly taller, it's slightly longer, which is to make space for the third row. Now, the E6 was a 5-seater, which as a fleet operator vehicle would have been a bit of a constraint, and even for larger families. In this case, the biggest change with the eMAX 7 is that it's available with 3 rows of seats.
So the 6 sat 5, but the 7 seat 7.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Or the option of 6 as well, because you have the option of captain seats in the second row.
Got it.
So you have the option of a bench or captain seats.
In which case it's still called the eMAX 7.
Yes. It doesn't become the eMAX 6 then.
Even the car guys are going back to buttons, right? Why don't you go to the main MotorInc channel and hit some buttons there? Like, share, subscribe,